L. Ron Hubbard actually moves in with him in this parsonage. And even though Hubbard had no formal training in magic, that's with the CK, he had an extraordinary amount of experience and understanding in the field. So he had a lot of head knowledge, book knowledge of what magic was, but he didn't have any practical applications to it. But Parsons loved him. As a matter of fact, Jack writes in a letter to Crowley, he says, about 3 months ago, I met Captain L. Ron Hubbard, a writer and explorer of whom I had known for some time. He's a gentleman. He has red hair, green eyes, is honest and intelligent, which is laughable considering L. Ron Hubbard scams him later on. And he says, we've become great friends. He moved in with me about 2 months ago, and although Betty and I are still friendly, she has transferred her sexual affections to him. So Betty, or Sarah Northrop Hollister, who I talked about earlier, was connected to Parsons in a sexual way, and Parsons was so infatuated with her. But as soon as L. Ron Hubbard comes into the scene, Betty dips on Parsons and starts messing around with L. Ron Hubbard, which Parsons is okay with to a point. He really wasn't okay, but he had to be okay because of the tenets of Thelema. And he's telling Crowley this in a letter. And he says, she has transferred her sexual affections to him, L. Ron Hubbard. Although Ron has no formal training in magic, he has an extraordinary amount of experience and understanding in the field. From some of his experiences, I deduce he's in direct touch with his guardian angel. So this is a huge theme in Thelema, is getting in contact with your personal guardian angel, which Crowley had with Aiwass. And Jack tells Crowley that L. Ron Hubbard describes his angel as a beautiful winged woman with red hair, whom he calls the Empress, who has guided him through his life and saved him many times. Recently, he says, because of some danger, she is called the Archangel Michael de Gardus, which I always find fascinating. They bring in some of the angelic beings from the actual Bible to be connected to them. They'll talk about Gabriel, they'll talk about Raphael, they'll talk about all of these different ones that are talked about in the Bible or apocryphal text, and say that they're working with them, which is tough for me because they're so against Christianity, but yet the angelic beings from the Christian literature are working with them. And he talks about how he and L. Ron Hubbard and several of the other ones at the parsonage are trying to bring about the Aeon of Horus, which that was Crowley's purpose. At least he said up front that was his purpose when he started Thelema, and that was to eventually bring the Antichrist into the equation